Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Hot Seat. This Friday, the 8th day of August 2025. And with me in the studio is a part of the most experienced journalists and pundits to discuss the major events of the week. And they have been quite eventful. So, I have Dismas Nkunda, who is representing the Banyarwanda community in Uganda and civil society. Then, of course, with me in the studio is another person, another Mnyarwanda. This place is dominated by Banyarwanda, I must confess. Another Mnyarwanda, Obed Katurebe, representing the state. He's from the acting executive director of the media center.
I think he's the boss now.
Yes, he's the.
When you're acting, you're the boss as well.
Yes. Israel Kayon is also Mnyarwanda, by the way. Do you know that?
His father, at least, he is.
So, what does that make him? He has just lost an NRM primary election in the, what village is that? Gomba. Yeah. And then Draco, what is your other name?
Franklin
Draco. You from West Nile?
Yeah, from Arua.
But rectify that. I didn't lose. I was robbed.
No one in Uganda loses. Everybody gets robbed.
Yeah,
particularly NRM.
Yeah, everyone is robbed. So okay. Please.
Draco must be from West Nile. Dramani.
Yeah.
Then Draco, Dramadri, Mawadri. I have a cousin actually from West Nile. She's called Christine Mawadri.
We know Christine. Who doesn't know Christine?
Mawadri. And then of course we have Derek Wandera. But the place is dominated by Banyarwanda, and what can we say?
And then the only Eastern is here.
No. The smallest tribe in
Uganda. Speak the microphone, don't speak to yourself.
And then from Eastern is Derek Wandera from. We have 1,000 people, by the way.
I know. Yeah. But the smallest group in Uganda.
100,000. The Samias.
You own 100,000?
Yes.
I saw a Torah 1 million.
You have increased.
But I was so surprised actually. Banyankole are the second largest tribe, not Basoga.
Yeah.
It depends.
In the recent population,
it depends on who's your boss.
We have learned them.
Your uncle's your boss.
It's Baganda first, Banyankole second. I think they're 4.5 million or something like that. Then
Basoga 3.6.
Third, Basoga number 3. Bachiga are number 4.
Yes.
Now this interesting thing. So Bateso come at around number 6 or something because now then there's Acholi. In the 1949, 59, 69, and 1980 census, the largest tribe was Baganda, 16.4. Then Banyankole and Bateso would come in number 2. They were 8.2% of the population throughout. So what has happened to Bateso? That's the one thing I noticed. The Bateso have fallen to number 6. But the other, let me say the Atesot have fallen to number 6. But this is the interesting thing about the Atesots. Life expectancy in Uganda is highest in Teso. If you are born in Teso, you are likely to live up until 77.2 years. Did you guys know that?
No.
But how about what do you call it? The death?
Death rate?
No. That is life expectancy. Oh, you mean child mortality?
Yes, child mortality.
Child mortality is lowest in Teso and highest in Toro, second Ankole.
But then
so the lowest life expectancy in Uganda is in Toro, followed by Ankole.
Then those statistics are skewed.
Why?
Because if life expectancy a person can grow up to that age in Teso,
why are there not so many?
Exactly. Why not they having enough people to be able to counter the difference?
It is possible that the Museveni committed a genocide there in the 1990s and decimated the population.
How many died in the Mukura incident?
No.
That is just one. But I do not know. Actually, they used to be the second, together with the Banyankole, they were the second largest tribe, now they're number 6.
I think for me,
but I should tell you another thing. Banyarwanda. In the 69-59 census,
yes,
the Banyarwanda were the 5th largest tribe in Uganda.
Yeah.
Now, I think they're number 14 or something.
Most of them have since
Baganda. We are in others.
Yes. So, but although I think that about the largest tribe in Uganda, not Baganda, the Banyarwanda. Banyarwanda maybe constitute about 30% or 35% of Uganda's population, but
but majority of them returned to Rwanda. So
no. Those were refugees, so they had not been.
There are some who were living as Ugandans.
But how 49 and 59 would they have been counted?
But there's always a grey area. Where they settled, they assimilated to those.
So, but one of these days we should have a discussion on this population census. It has very interesting numbers. Like, the place with the highest connection of solar energy in the whole of Uganda is Toro region. They have the highest access to solar power. Kampala has the least, largely because it has 92% coverage of grid. And again, Toro has the lowest.
So why isn't Arua and West Nile the highest on solar?
I don't know.
Because for a very long time, West Nile has not been on the national grid, and most of it has been on solar.
It means you guys don't like electricity.
No, I am surprised because in my village, at least every home still has a form of solar, whether this single light or something else, it's there. So these statistics, I think, is not telling us the truth.
It could
because that's the only option. That's the only option.
How can you anecdote evidence of your village?
Maybe one village.
No. You see,
national. Let me tell you, my grandson. You are a journalist. You should learn this. When a person is doing research of that level, they are doing aggregate. For you are doing a village.
But
can I tell you?
First, listen.
If I
start with the village because that's the origin.
Yes, but have you been to Toro, which is the highest? For you to compare, to say Arua must be the best, you must have been
I am not saying Arua is the best. I'm saying I am surprised.
Yes, because of not given the number of Arua. Maybe Arua is second to Toro. Why are you already defending? Maybe Arua is second to Toro. I said Toro is number one when it comes to connection to solar power. It's number one in terms of the highest levels of child mortality, below 5.
The Batoro know how to use power.
I don't know. They have a lot of it. Let me tell you another interesting thing. So Teso has the lowest child mortality rate and therefore the highest life expectancy. Toro has the highest child mortality rates and therefore the lowest life expectancy in the whole country. Yes, it is quite surprising, but it is not surprising if you look at another statistic. Another statistic you look at is there is in there access to improved water source.
Who are they?
Teso has the highest access to improved water source within a kilometer of a home, an improved water source. Toro has the lowest and Ankole has the second lowest, which tells me that waterborne diseases are the ones that are killing children in infancy and therefore they can't reach the age of 5, which experience life expectancy. By the way, the biggest determinant of life expectancy outside of war is child mortality. If you have so many kids dying, because they call it life expectancy at birth. And why has Toro and Ankole got the lowest levels of access to an improved water source? Is because they have the largest natural sources of water. So government of Uganda has not gone there as massively to put boreholes, improved sources of water. So people still use these walls behind your gardens, or the valleys next to your garden. So what was nature's bounty has turned out to be costly in terms of government investment in improved water sources.
I'll tell you the statistics of Kisoro, that we are the biggest user of outside toilet. Speak that to the microphone.
Okay. Anyway, now let's come to the subject. Today Besigye has been denied bail. I want to begin you with the Derek Wandera. You are a reporter. You were in court. You are going to read the story about. Tell us, why was Besigye denied bail?
Quite a number of issues that were raised during the bail hearing, and of course they resurface in the final ruling. One of them is the time within which the bail application was filed. For such an aggravated case, you're supposed to file after 180 days of being detained.
Oh. So that is just to fail?
Yes,
just for bail alone.
For bail alone.
Not considering whether it will be accepted or not.
Yes.
No. It has to be after 180 days.
180.
The mandatory bail.
Yes.
It is the mandatory, as in you are it's mandatory to get bail after 180 days. Not that you are supposed to file.
So you can file.
Yeah, you can file this one.
No. So if you file for bail after 180 days, it's mandatory that they give it to him.
It's mandatory that they give it to you.
But how come Matthew Kanyamunyu was denied that bail? He was released after 11 and a half months.
But you see, the thing is, his lawyers may not have applied for that mandatory bail.
No,
so it's a question.
They did.
But bail is also not
quite many. It's not
an absolute thing. No, it's an absolute thing. A judge can deny.
No, but he said after 180 days. After 180 days, he's saying it's mandatory that the bail must be given.
So yeah.
So why was Matthew Kanyamunyu denied this?
That's why I'm saying this case here is also. It was a thing that they have just tried. Like it was something that
is it new? Because it's
new.
2016.
It's a rule that they have been trying to that even when they were bringing it up after Besigye, this is not the first time he's applying for bail. He has applied for bail maybe 3 times. and they were trying this attempt. And in this attempt, they were trying to bring the period in which he was at the court-martial. And bringing it up to date would mean that he would qualify for it, but the judge has ruled otherwise.
But I'm going to read the judgment, the conclusive judgment says, however, for the interest
conclusive judgment or the conclusion
of the judgment, the conclusion of the judgment. However, for the interest of justice for both parties, and bearing in mind that the right to liberty enjoyed by the applicants means the applicants have been committed to trial in High Court under session case number 335 of 2025. It is my considerable view that my considered view that my priority be given to hearing the main case other than the bail application. I accordingly direct the Deputy Registrar of this court to cause list the session case number 335 of the 2025 for immediate hearing.
Okay, so now I want to actually to leave these legal issues there for Lukwago and others. I want us to discuss the politics of Besigye's arrest. And being kept in jail. First of all, I don't see any public. If you are Museveni, you have kept a guy in jail. Now it's coming to 8 months. He was arrested in November last year. Now it is August. So this is 9 months actually in jail, and nothing has happened. Do you think Museveni can release him for the elections, given that Besigye may give him a headache? Why not keep him in jail? They can always tell the judges keep him there until after. This was in me.
No, but I guess it's the question. The question is not from Museveni. The question is for the judges, the courts of law, which are supposed to be able to handle whichever process, the legal process.
That assumes the courts are that independent, are they?
We assume they're independent. Are they not? Tell us, because you are.
No, that's your assumption. What is your knowledge, suspicion, given past behavior?
Well, past behavior, it means that they can. Museveni can always use the courts to be able to hold him as and when he wants, until after a time he feels pity for him and he releases him.
I just Andrew asked, how come there's no other pressure, avalanche of demonstrations?
That one he just stated it in passing.
No, I didn't mention it.
Basically, that's what he was asking.
I'm surprised that
how come
has just gone into oblivion. No one thinks about him anymore.
There's no international pressure.
It's not that nobody thinks about him at all. By the mere fact, first look at the constitution of his legal team. It's one of those that you're having international lawyers coming to represent.
Who are these international lawyers? Martha Karua?
She's international. She's not Ugandan.
That's okay. You say regional. You get it. She went to Tanzania.
But also it also buys into the kind of attention that people want to hear. Do you want people to go on the streets and be killed like in 2021?
There's a problem, guys. If it was Bobby Wine, I'm sure Western countries, Western human rights organizations would be campaigning for Bobby Wine. Isaac, tell us, why is there disregard for Besigye?
No, disregard for...
But that's what I'll tell you, for the embassies which I've talked to, when they listen to the audios, send them to the laboratories, FBI laboratories in Washington, D.C., to MI6 laboratories in London, and all. They found that these were authentic, and they don't, a person involved in attempted assassination and insurrection, they cannot defend you. The diplomats in Uganda...
You think that's the truth?
The diplomats in Uganda have told the opposition, if they come here and say otherwise, they're liars. Anyone can ask. You are a journalist. I'm sure you talk to Western embassies. The Americans, the British, the French.
I did personally. I subjected these audios to.
No, I'm saying, did you talk to the Americans, the British, and the French?
Of course,
what did they tell you?
Politics.
No. But I think for me,
they have been very clear, not openly, but I can state this. The British, the French, and the Americans at least have been very clear that the reason they have kept a distance and silent is because they tested they sent them to the home laboratories for testing. They found they were authentic, they're not edited, and it's best. And from that, they kept away because they cannot defend planned assassination of a president and planned insurrection.
No, maybe before Isaac comes in, I know President Museveni. By the time he takes such strong decisions and whatever to have Besigye, a man of Besigye's caliber for this long, he, like Andrew says, he could have even told those ones who make the traditional noise and say, here is. You can even go and verify. And probably that explains why the Western world is silent about him.
Including their human rights organizations. They have not taken up this issue.
That aside, I'll answer the other question, since nobody wants to answer it, why I said, but why, how can Besigye be arrested and there is no uproar? I think it's time up for Besigye. Oh, it happened 5 years ago, but maybe he did not realize. To some of us who are old enough, those days, Besigye to be arrested, and he's in CPS, and this time the town remains normal. Never. But before even they used to have those mini arrests, and they escaped in CPS for like a whole day, or even sleeps there, and people, the downtime remains normal. I think either those who are his radical supporters, of course, went to Noop. Others have fatigue. They think probably he has not delivered them to the promised land, and if I were him or his advisor, I would advise him to retire.
Yes,
for me personally, I think there are two things here I see. For the population to come and participate in putting the pressure, it is largely on the extreme. And the extremes now are not with Besigye, they are with Bobi Wine or Museveni. There's no room for in between.
Museveni has extremists also.
Yes, of course. Like some of us, we are absolute. We are absolute. When you go to Gomba,
very poor extremists because
he's referring to his home in Gomba.
In Gomba, I mean, why we are fighting for the flag like it is the end of the contest is because once we enter there, it is a thing of are you with Museveni or not? Are you NRM? And that's it. So we have a population which is divided and extreme. You don't have space for people like Muntu or those Besigye or whoever, or Amuriat or Nandala to thrive. So that one, for sure, the population has moved.
But I thought there is a no person standing in your place.
Yeah, they will come, but ours, like I said, we are extreme. In Gomba,
we have to take another break, I'm told. We'll be right back. Welcome back to this edition of the Hotseat, featuring this great panel of experienced journalists and panelists to discuss the major events of the week. I have Dismas Sinkunda, I have Obed Katurebe, I have Israel Kayonde, I have Derek Wandera, I have Draco. Draco, what is your other name? Franklin Draco. My friend, that's a very serious name. Draco. And someone who has come later will not allow him to speak. Jonah Biakutaga, meaning that we are pleading. But let me finish your point. I want to come to...
So I was saying, I think the strategy of the Besigye's team, which was to get him out of the court-martial, they put pressure. Everybody expected it. They put pressure on the Supreme Court. They delivered the judgment in their favor. As soon as that happened, it killed this team, because if they were strategic enough, they should have demanded for his release more than him being tried in the civilian court, because they figured, I think, they would control. But once that came out, then
I felt that if I was a Besigye person, I would have left him to be tried in the court-martial. You see, this is the problem with that trial. Is if you have been arguing this is dictatorship, a military dictatorship, a military junta, as Besigye calls it, you go to Supreme Court and they rule in your favor. So you are saying the courts in a dictatorship are independent, okay? No. Then from there you go to the High Court. It means whatever is delivered, you are the one who said I don't want to be in the military court, I want to be in the civilian court. If you go there, now you're being charged with treason and they convict you to death. This is the court you yourself said will give you justice. So I felt that if I was Besigye, it's better for me to be tried in a military court, which lacks credibility, where the chief of defense forces, under whom this court falls, has already said I'll be sentenced to death. But
that's exactly what I was saying. That because of that, people have lost the interest in his release. That now it is okay. You said this is the fair court. Go and subject yourself to it.
Yes.
So there is no public outcry for it.
Draco.
Yes.
You could tell us your own view. But why is there no public outcry to defend Besigye nationally and internationally for him to get out?
No, but I think one thing is Besigye is in a court he wanted to be in. Because remember the argument in the military court was I am a civilian. I can't be tried in a military court. And that, to me, I think carried water, because military court was not, it didn't have the technicalities to handle these issues.
What do you mean?
Yeah, it was.
There was no qualified judge there in military court. So what were
But
they
the military
trying?
court administers
That
military law.
was, it was for serving officers. It wasn't meant
But
for
I consider that a
civilians.
technicality, and this is not an issue of legal technicality, Draco. This is a matter of politics.
Really?
And yes.
But
because basically,
now, what is the role of military in politics?
No, what I'm saying is, for political purposes, the trial of Besigye, if you reduce it to legal technicalities, you miss its political value for Besigye. That's what I was saying. If I was Besigye, I don't want to be tried in a court that is seen to be impartial. I want to be tried in a kangaroo court, which has no credibility. Then the public momentum to say this is an unfair thing remains. Why get out of it? I would go to that court and make a speech like Mandela made, I make a speech like Fidel Castro made or Hitler made. Many of these great politicians, they appealed to history and said, I would go to court, that military court, and said there is a dictatorship in Uganda, it is destroying the country, and I am willing to go to any extent to ensure that I liberate this country. Whether it means civil war, assassination, I would say, I do not deny. Let me quote for you Nelson Mandela what he said when he was being tried for the Veronia sabotage. He said, I do not deny that I planned sabotage. I did not plan it in a spirit of recklessness, nor because I had any love of violence. I planned it after sober and calm assessment of the political situation that had arisen after many years of tyranny, exploitation, and oppression of my people by the whites. You state a clear political message like that. This is not a political, a legal thing. This is a very political thing where you make a political statement. And I think that Besigye lost the greatest opportunity to go down in history as a person who believes in particular things and is willing to. When Hitler was being tried, he said the honor of the German Reich is the most important thing, and I planned to overthrow the government. If I'm released, I would plan the same thing, and I'm ready to die in defense of Germany. And I'm telling you, the whole country fell in love with him. He was an obscure politician after the beer hall push, but his trial made him Fidel Castro. He said, I'm putting my name to history. This government of Batista. So you see, exactly. So for me, I feel like when I saw the Lukwagos, I felt they had the best political opportunity, and they just threw it away. Why leave the military court and go to civil court?
And what you are forgetting there is that at that particular time, and I think that's what Kayonde was explaining, at that particular time, the onus was saying, if Besigye is successfully tried in a military court, it's going to be a very dangerous precedent in terms of other people who, like even the Bobby Wines of this world.
Why? That's a very good thing.
No, first, you allowed you to speak.
Okay. No, one who allows me to speak, not you guys. I am the moderator, dictatorial moderator. Go ahead.
So at that point, what the pressure groups were having was that they never wanted the superiority of the court, the military court, to overshadow the what do you call them, the civilian courts. And when that push was done, it became apparent that now what we were fighting for was it's done. We are finished with it. Now it's up to you to present yourself before that court which you advocated for, that you wanted to try you in a civilian manner.
But this is what I'm saying is at a strategic level, you are a politician. Why do you want to be taken in a court?
Andrew, do you honestly think, given the circumstances and the leadership that we have, the so-called leadership, the military leadership that we have in Uganda, and the anger with which he was arrested and brought back from Nairobi, that he came and made that statement that I will kill, I will assassinate, I will do. You think it is self-incriminating and would survive anything?
No, but he won't survive anything in the court.
Andrew, remember in 2016, after the elections, Besigye said, I won elections. And he was arrested, and they said, yes, he said, I am here. If you want to convict me, if you want to try me, I am here.
Yes, but he said he won an election. But he did not say I planned a civil war.
But where did that case end?
Let's just be Kutaga, because Kutaga is to plead.
Thanks, Andrew.
Why did you come late? Please don't tell me traffic jam, because this is not the first time I've had traffic jam.
I was fighting petitions at the secretariat. So it's been a long day. Yes, I have the flag for Hoima East.
And somebody challenging your flag?
No, they didn't, but I was just a cheerleader for one of my colleagues.
Hey.
I'm the only one in Hoima City who wasn't being challenged. So mine was a clean
Hoima City
win.
has 2 constituencies?
Yeah, Hoima East and Hoima West. So mine wasn't...
You want the NRM flag?
Yes, I did, for Hoima East.
Okay.
But mine is a bit different, away from the legal angle. Mine is a political angle, judging as someone who's been in the field looking for votes. It's doing us a lot of damage. Hoima for so long was predominantly NRM, your neighbor, so you know. For now, our percentage dropped in 2021 as a party to about 63%, which is unprecedented for Bunyoro. FDC then, under Kizza Besigye, was massively eating into President Museveni support, massively. And they're still there. There's no other opposition.
There is a woman MP,
apart from
even who
Nyakato, as yes. So there's a lot of FDC. Now this is galvanizing the FDC support in Hoima region. There's a lot that's happening in Hoima. From the stadium being constructed to oil and gas impact, we are giving FDC a chance to revive
resurrection.
Yeah, and for me, I don't think...
But FBC is no longer in FDC.
Well, PFF, whichever you want to call it, but in the rural areas, it's looked at as FDC. For them, they don't understand what's PFF and what else. So I was at the late Garuga's funeral service today, and a lot was said about this particular case of Kizza Besigye. And for me, I don't see the harm in granting the man bail. The more we keep him behind bars, the more we rile up the opposition in some of these areas where we're trying to kick them out. So I think it doesn't hurt the government. Yes, there may be a case, if at all there is one. Let's go through the case. Let's prosecute him. If there's a case to be answered, let him answer. But denying him bail, I think, is just creating more difficult challenge for us as a party to try.
But it's an interesting perspective. Let us take another break. When we come back, we shall discuss his perspective that this young man has introduced. Okay. Welcome back to this edition of the Hot Seat, featuring this part of the Boss Experience journalists and panelists to discuss the major events of the week. We were in the middle of... So you are telling us that you believe people are turning against NRM for arresting Besigye. That is what you got in Hoima City.
It's not the reason they're turning against NRM, but it's galvanizing them to resist the NRM. We are in a real... It's a real war in Hoima in terms of trying to whip out of opposition. When the city was created 5 years ago, I contested 5 years ago, and I did not get the flag then. When we contested...
Did you run as an independent?
No, I've always been in NRM. I ran as NRM and I finished second in that race. But we, out of 3 positions in a newly created city, we lost the woman's seat to Asinas Nyakato.
Who is
PFF now?
Had even come
she's FDC at the time, but now she's PFF.
She had even come as in the by-election.
Oh,
yeah, the previous by-election.
Elected an FDC
woman MP. Also, where I'm contesting in the East was also an FDC individual, Isingo Mamwesigo.
The current MP.
The current MP. So we lost 2 seats out of 3. And even the third one was hotly contested in court up to, I think, end of last year. Kasule Ismail battling against Dr. Ruyonga. So it shows you, it's not just about being an urban center. The mindset of people is very different right now, I tell you this. We always believed that the rural areas will vote NRM regardless, but that's not the case anymore. You actually go in and you will be asked questions that you didn't think someone deep in a rural setting would actually question you. And they'll ask you about Dr. Kizza Besigye. They'll ask you why is he locked up, and you've got to explain. You know, so I think it does us more harm. Us who are trying to get the numbers in Parliament, it's hurting us as a party. And I think, well, putting him out on bail does not take anything away from him. He's not going to flee from the country.
But he's going to mobilize the country against Museveni.
That's the thing. I don't think he has the time to do that. I think.
What do you mean he doesn't have the time?
I think with the time we have between now and an election day, he will not go past Bobby Wine at this moment in time. He will not. But the more
Bobby Wine and bolster Bobby Wine.
He probably will. They did that 5 years ago, and what was the impact?
He didn't support Bobby Wine.
No, what I mean is technically he was behind him, as much as they didn't come out to the front. When they campaigned in Hoima and Bobby Wine came to Hoima, FDC were the ones mobilizing in Hoima. But I mean, as a structure, as a party, they will be there. Besigye doesn't have to stand at the front.
Besigye is a big crowd puller.
No, but Andrew, you're lying. You're lying. I don't know why you are really... Andrew is lying. I don't know why you're not believing what I said in my brief submission
How can an opinion be a lie?
That it is time out for Besigye. I mean, over time, Andrew, you've been here for long. The whole of northern Uganda, West Nile, where he comes from, and eastern Uganda, they were all FDC. But over time, every other election cycle, NRM is really literally out to maneuvering them out of those regions. Now, back, I don't know.
But that's not true.
Let me finish.
Unlike
If
you
that
who
is
are
true-
accusing me of lying,
No, if that's
I have
true.
numbers on my phone. Can I read them
Okay,
for you?
you'll come. Let me first submit.
Because in 2016, Besigye pushed Museveni in Western Uganda down below 70%. So he was getting about 30% Besigye. So in Buganda, Besigye increased his share in Buganda. Also, Besigye he reduced his share in northern Uganda. But Besigye was able to gain, and I felt that if Besigye and Bobi Wine had not been conflicting and went on one ticket, and Bobi Wine took Soga and Buganda the way he took it, and Besigye had the kind of support he had in the west and in the and in the north, north especially, Besigye would have performed much better. You know why? If you look at the north, voter turnout was very low. It was almost like in Kampala.
Which
No, let me read
last election?
in the last election, yes. You know why? Because Besigye was also on the ballot. People in the north are not willing to support Bobi Wine.
Yeah.
But let me give you, for example, a Choli region. In Amuru, voter turnout was 43.8%. In Agago, 67%. In Lamo, 65%. But in Gulu, 48%. In Kitgum, 55%. In Gulu City, 33%.
Okay.
And I can tell you, these are Besigye supporters.
Andrew.
So let me finish for you. So you see that, like in Gulu City, Museveni gets 44%. I think maybe because I was Mao, whoever it was there, and this guy gets 20. Who was from the north campaigning? But Museveni got 44% in Gulu City. Bobi Wine got 21%.
Okay, Andrew. This is what I was.
58% voter turnout. Nwaya 46%. Omoro 51%. Voter turnout in the north fell significantly because.
I want to now. I'll pose a question to you for that matter. What is it? I mean, there's nobody who understands voters than these politicians themselves. And now in this last few months, we've seen the last cluster of FDC defecting to NRM. Mapenduzi, who was FDC listening, and he is from the city area of Guru, they camped in NRM. There's a call. They camped in NRM.
Those are individuals.
No, I'm saying they map and they have the feeling of their constituents.
Yes,
There is another guy in Western Nile who also decamped. I'm forgetting his other name. And some in Eastern Uganda. And in Western Uganda, I think it's almost getting, I think, to the best of my knowledge, there are only 2 or 3 MPs in the whole of Western Uganda. Kamara, Kabari Municipality, and Boeju. Those days, Bushenyi used to have FDC. Rukungiri would be like all FDC, but there is no FDC in his home area, Rukungiri, as we speak. I think
because what happened is that the emergence of Bobi Wine and the solidification of the Ganda vote behind him alienated both the north and the west. In the west, voter turnout increased and Museveni's margins really went high. Museveni was not getting those 98% votes in Bushenyi.
Exactly.
Yes.
The reason I'm saying it's time up. There is fatigue. There is.
But for me, again, the argument that, look, the support of Dr. Kizza Besigye and Bobi Wine is intertwined. Because this
Actually, that's not the case. From the numbers
in Western Uganda, those were for Besigye the man. But when Besigye, I mean, there's not a single MP of NUP. Meaning, those the percentages Andrew was talking about in Western Uganda, if they are intertwined with NUP, then we should be having a sizable number of NUP MPs.
But the character of
for
the
me,
voter,
I rely on numbers. Let me tell you this. In 2011, Besigye's vote really declined from 36% in 2006 to 26%, by 10% in 2011. So I want to show you voters are not constant. Why did Besigye collapse? In 2016, Besigye's vote again rose from 26% back to 36.4%. Why?
One of the things.
So the fact that he didn't participate in 2021 does not tell us how he would perform in 2026. So many factors and combinations can come and change the dynamics of the election.
My view is there certainly is a difference between the voters of Besigye and Bobi Wine. Besigye's constituency had intertwines with that of Museveni, and they were always vying for the same votes, same demographies in terms of age and stuff like that. Bobi Wine created his own constituency of the young people. And you look at the figures, for instance, of the last elections, you'll see that more young people participated in that election than the older.
No, I disagree with you. Again, numbers don't prove that. Let me tell you, there was greater voter turnout in 2016 in Kampala, which is basically another Bobby Wine's whatever. Museveni got, in 2011, Museveni got 245,000 votes. Besigye got 248,000. The difference was 3,000. That's 2011. In 2016, Besigye grew from 248 to 334,000. Yes, in Kampala. And Museveni fell to 157. In 2021, Bobby Wine grew to 384,000. And Museveni fell to 126,000. Now look at this. So you can clearly see that, but voter turnout in Kampala fell to 41%. From 48%.
Yeah, but you know,
What if
you know why?
90 or 100?
This is what I'm saying. Because Kampala and Wakiso districts, where voter turnout was on average 45%, they had 2.5 million registered voters, 2.4 something million registered voters. If they had 90% showing up, I don't know whether these are Museveni supporters who stayed home or the opposition voters who were disappointed, or they were independent voters. We don't know. We need to do that study.
We know because.
But how do you know? You cannot say you know. That requires scientific study. You Ugandans like to speculate. Can I tell? The only way you can do is to poll people who do not vote and ask. I can speculate. Some people not vote because maybe they are apathetic. They think that their vote doesn't matter. Museveni will win anyway. Others may be Museveni supporters who also feel, look, we can't vote for him, but the opposition is just too much. Others may have been. It is difficult to know. But
after the November 18, 19th incidents, you would move on the streets and can count the number of people who are on the streets up to the voting day. And for me, if you are not factoring the killings on the streets. Very many people stayed away because of the violence that was in the election. And the problem is that you just don't want to put your... Seriously,
I think you need to invest in the studies. Let me give you an example.
So you think
each time Museveni have an impact on that election? Let me tell you this. And this is an interesting thing you will need to do in the census. Wherever Museveni has employed
over 50
violence,
people killed on the streets.
Let me show you this. Whenever Museveni has employed violence, voter turnout has gone up. Museveni's share of the vote has gone down. The opposition vote has gone up. Whenever Museveni has been peaceful, and I'm going to put this. So, whenever Museveni has been exercising the peacefulness in an election, his numbers have gone up. The opposition vote has gone down. Now, of course, it is important to understand the chain of causation. It's difficult to tell the chain of causation. Does the momentum in favor of the opposition unleash Museveni's violence, or does Museveni's violence stimulate opposition enthusiasm?
How sure are you that the 41% who turned out in Kampala were actually opposition?
No. What I'm saying, Bobby Wine got, Museveni got his 12.6% of the vote. Yes. Bobby Wine got about 82%. Yep. So at least we know the people who showed up to vote were largely opposition.
Simple. Simple like this. You elites, the what, do not go to vote. Those who went to vote are the unwashed of Tanga, where, and that's why
this is a question. What is the population of elites in Kampala compared to those other masses you're talking about? The population of elites is not even 5%. So the vast majority of people who live in Kampala are those guys you're talking about. What I can say is, what I speculate about is NRM did not have infrastructure in Kampala to mobilize its own people to show up and vote.
No, maybe I used the wrong word.
Opposition did not have infrastructure.
The intellectuals like you and Dismas.
But how many are they?
People in businessmen, Chikubu and whatever, I wouldn't classify them as elites, but again, they also don't vote.
But what is the share of those people into the total population? 10%, 15%? Because still on the 2.5 million in Kampala and Wakiso, I should tell you, however much you define elites, they cannot be more than 15%.
But Andrew,
so why is the 85% not showing?
I think those numbers could end up misleading. And I think the picture on the ground is very different. Which numbers? The numbers that you're saying. I'm good with numbers. I think numbers give you a fair picture, but those numbers are misleading when you get onto the ground. When you talk about, you say violence, in your words, not mine, but you're saying violence of President Museveni increases his win percentage.
No, that's not what I said.
No.
Yeah, you're saying more violence makes him lose.
I said I don't know the chain of causation, but there is a correlation. Violence, wherever there has been high levels of violence, there has been higher performance of the opposition, and I wonder whether it is the violence that causes opposition enthusiasm
Absolutely.
or opposition enthusiasm that stimulates Museveni's violence?
No, it is-
What is the chain of causation?
Absolutely, and then I agree with you 100%. The more violence that happens, the more resistance we're facing. Loop was non-existent in Bunyoro.
Again, that's not my point. Although you say you agree with me. For me, I'm saying we don't know. It is
Me, I'm saying,
we are
for
saying
my
something.
observation,
We know.
yeah,
Okay.
my observation is that's what it is.
All these ones are
My-
opinions,
yeah.
so accept them.
My
He said he
observation.
agrees with me. I was saying that's not my point.
Okay, so I partially agree with you there. I partially agree with you, but my point is where
if
there's
you
more
partially
violence.
agree with me, is to say I do not know what causes what.
No, that is your opinion.
Yeah.
What I saw
It is you doesn't know. Me, I told you I do. And I gave him my opinion.
We
he
are
said
taking
I
a
know.
break. We'll be right back. No. The feeling of momentum that leads to violence. Okay, well, let's come back on there. Welcome back to this last segment of this edition of the Hot Seat, featuring a panel of the most experienced journalists and panelists discussing major events of the week. Of course, I have my grandson, Draco. Frederick Draco.
Older than that, Franklin Draco.
Franklin Draco from West Nile. I have John Abiakutaga from Hoima. I have Dismas Ikunda from Kisoro. I have from Isinjuro, where Museveni got 95% of the vote.
I wanted 104.
Speak that on the microphone.
Goba, where Museveni got 93%. I have Isaac Kayonde.
No, he got less.
104.
No. Bobby Wine
Percent.
got more votes in Gomba than
Museveni.
Museveni, but Gomba West is the figure.
So, and of course, I have Derek Wandera, who comes from the Basamia community, who are just 20,000 of them in the whole
That is we are
country. More than
100,000.
that?
We are 100,000.
Anyway, so guys, let's come back to Biakutaga. Biakutaga talking about violence. I'm not going to comment on it because I disagree with all of you. So Gomba, Museveni got 45%, Bobby Wine got 53.7%.
Yeah.
So why are you not on the Loop ticket?
That's Gomba East. All the 45 came from Gomba West, so it is a clear cut.
Okay. In Butambala, Museveni got 25%, Bobby Wine 73%.
Yeah.
And of course, in Mpiji, Museveni got 26% and Bobby Wine got 72%.
Yeah.
You can see that is Greater Mpiji.
Yeah.
You want to know more about? We have Greater Masaka.
Zimbabwe.
Masaka, Museveni got 34, Bobby Wine 66%. Masaka City, Bobby Wine got 77%, Museveni 21%. In Rakai, Museveni got 57, Bobby Wine 40. In Sembabele, Museveni got 56%, Bobby Wine 42. In Liantonde, Museveni got 74%, Bobby Wine 24. Bukoma Simbi, Museveni got 29.
Yeah.
Greater Masaka, they call it. Bukoma Simbi, Bobby Wine got 69%, Museveni got 29%. Kalungu, Museveni got 29%, Bobby Wine 69%. Luengo, Museveni got 42%, Bobby Wine 56%. Kyotera, Museveni got 33%, Bobby Wine 65%. And Kalangala, Museveni got 28%, Bobby Wine 70%.
Well, those numbers will change.
Seems as if Bobi Wine won.
Nah.
Bobby Wine won.
Andrew, let me just jump back quickly.
Have you not had a figure of numbers?
Yeah. Let me just conclude that thing of the violence, and let me echo it back onto the funeral service today of Garuga. And there was at a point.
Where was it?
At All Saints. There was. I know you're going to talk about the crowd, the audience being urban, but the reaction to there was a statement that was made about Besigye, and they were saying that Garuga in his last days, one of the key things he kept saying is let the man out, let the man out. And the general response from this
But that, that was an FDC gathering. Maybe
not really, because actually there were more NRM people than FDC people. I mean, the two former emeritus prime ministers were there, Honorable Sam Kutesa. So there were so many more government people actually than opposition, as much as the Semujus and the Rukwagos were there. So the key thing was the reaction from people was get the man out. So you feel an agitation.
So how did they do it?
What do you mean, how did they do it?
In what form was the agitation?
There was a Dr. Karuni, when he spoke, and he said he spoke as a friend, and he said these were Garuga's last messages last week, and the response to what he said, and people started saying, even when Rugunda and Mbabazi came to speak, people were like, you need to free the man, you need to free the man. So there's growing agitation. No, they completely avoided talking about it, but you could feel the growing agitation from people. Now imagine this is an urban setting. When you go in the rural areas, I told you, for me in Hoima, we had never seen NUP before. We had never heard of NUP. But we got a NUP candidate in my own race 5 years ago. For the first time, we had NUP contesting. Of course, he struggled after that election. The violence that followed for the next 3 years, I was working with Total at the time, I'd moved out of politics. For the next 3 years, the violence that happened propped this guy up. He's called Aguda. Propped him
Violence
up.
by who against who?
In terms of,
violence by who against who?
Violence against them, against these opposition people. Sometimes you ignore them. They have no impact. NUP had no impact in Hoima, but the more you resist them, you're giving them legs. Next thing they're running and they're becoming
so you're
a problem.
even fearing
The more you terrorize them.
No, we're not scared of them, but the numbers are not big. But my point is, the more you subject violence, you're giving them breathing room to grow. Luckily for me, for East,
violence solidifies the opposition.
Now, in the last 2 years,
the opposition should campaign for more 7 violence.
Yeah, but in the last 2 years, in the last 2 years,
because that's how they benefit.
In the last 2 years, the violence toned down. And guess what? For example, Hoima East, we do not have a NUP candidate this time round. Because they have no room to breathe. When you ignore them, they have no ground.
You just don't know yet.
So Aguda, who contested then, came back and contested when we lost our LC5 chairman, rest his soul. He came back to contest as an LC5 and lost. And since then, they've been neutralized in Hoima East. We don't have NUP. We're going to be 3 people on the card. Myself, the FDC person, and an ant candidate.
Soon.
No, they do not have anyone in the East. They have someone in the West and for the woman's seat, but in the East, they've been neutralized completely. And it's because the RCC who came in place, in terms of security, his idea was ignore them, do not give them room to breathe.
Who is an RCC?
The resident city commissioner, RDC. Well, for the city we have an RCC. Yeah, so his policy was ignore. And this is an exposed, educated person, and he said to himself, "Listen, I'm not going to give these guys room. If they want to have their Women's Day event, let them go ahead and do it." Their turn up is very small, and they're neutralized completely. So I think it's counterproductive for us to resort to trying and tie them.
I like this, guys. What do you have to say, Mr. Government spokesperson?
No. I'm agreeing with him on the issue of at times we make these people. You should have seen the arguments in the last elections with some quarters totally uncomfortable with the way we were handling Boboin. Yes, he was defying standard operating procedures of NUP, but the more we tried to forcefully throw tear gas and whatever, we marketed the man. There is no doubt about it.
So are you going to advise your government not to touch the opposition?
I have no reason to believe that they would. No. What I'm saying, it's the government, the NRM that is in power.
Are you
I come here as a journalist.
If they break the law, then you have no option but to go after them.
Andrew asked, I have no reason to believe that this one will also be managed the way we managed. The other one was COVID, defiance, and whatever. But now there should be no tear gas at all.
You are in this election. It seems to me that it's very possible that the violence unleashed by government tends to stimulate opposition support. Although I also suspicious that it's very possible that Museveni reads the momentum on the other side and
you have what they call paralysis of analysis. It's very clear.
Because I'm not an assertive person. Like, I'm an intellectual. I'm not a politician.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I am much more interested in when I say the correlation is not causality. You should always understand that whatever. And it's very difficult sometimes to establish chains of causality.
Yeah, my only thing is that you miss the obvious when you try to analyze it that way. The thing is this, that what he's explaining to you, Byakutaga, is that after this election and everything, they are arresting NUP agents and all that, gives them this thing of, the population gets agitated. Yeah, but if you leave them, then there is no argument. They don't have an argument.
Okay, let me give you the counter argument. For the counter argument for Museveni,
so the violence comes before.
Museveni, let me be the devil's advocate. So Museveni's people say, look, what we need is to dampen voter turnout. And how do you dampen voter turnout? We must unleash such violence and demonstrate that it does not matter how you vote. Your vote will not count. In which case, you discourage many people from showing up to vote, and when you discourage
Andrew, that argument,
this is what I have in the last elections.
It is the violence which
it is only last election that where we witnessed violence. The previous elections were normal. These people would only cry, were rigged out with the machines.
But 2016 there was a lot of violence also.
2016,
this violence has been there, and it has just
except for 2011.
It has.
There was a lot of violence in 2016 and 2016.
But if government is listening to this show, let us try to see and have a very violent free election in the 2027 6 elections.
No,
we gauge and see.
Wandera, there's no doubt this one will be peaceful. Will
It
be
happened in
free.
2011.
No,
It happened in
2021, Wandera.
Very well.
2021, I think government was just trying to.
I don't like you saying government.
Why?
Hold on, whatever. 2021, they're trying to tame the lion in Boban of defiance, saying this is how election will imagine. There is COVID-19, we're not to do it, and the man says, I will do it. I think they were trying to say, let's tame this idiot.
But there's one thing I can say. I'm coming to you, Draco. In 2011, there was no violence at all.
Absolutely.
There was a lot of bribery. Besigye's vote, the total voter turnout actually fell from 68% in 2006 to 58%. Museveni's share increased from 57% to 68%. Besigye's fell from 36% to 26%.
But it is the best. It was also the best and most the best managed campaign for President Museveni. He was very aggressive on the youth. He sang the rap song. The election was being managed by the
He
KKs,
had these robocalls.
the KKs and Edwin Karajira. There was another whole group which was organizing and galvanizing this support. The problem I have with NRM again is their inability. Us. Yes, I told you I'm a Musevenist at this point. The inability to run a campaign as specific as that. In 2011, it was all about the youth. Let the president run.
Okay, Draco, you have the last word on this.
Okay, 2021, I was on a campaign trail throughout. We are in places where you would get NRM guys holding rallies peacefully, but the opposition is being tear gassed.
No, Museveni didn't hold rallies.
No,
He would
I am
meet
not saying Museveni.
targeted
NRM guys.
Museveni.
Oh.
because
You're not listening.
okay. We went to places. I remember when Namisindwa, where the NRM guys were holding a rally, but the opposition was being tear gassed. What did the opposition guys do? They went and invaded the NRM campaign, and everybody was tear gassed in the process. Yes, including the NRM, because the opposition was already there now. Everybody was tear gassed. And I think from the conversation you would see from the security guys, because we are constantly mixing up with them, we can't allow this to be the president. We can't.
Okay. Unfortunately, we have run out.
What happened in 6 months' time? People tend to get the feeling that this election was complete, it was a fraud election, but it wasn't necessarily that. There were outstanding areas like Sembabule. Yes, there was outstanding areas like Sembabule and where Tinka comes from, Kibale. But and Gomba and a few areas.
Over and above.
But generally, it was actually a calm election. What has produced a biggest number of independents is because of their personal interests, but not